All right. So good morning, CREWBaltimore. Welcome back to our virtual conversations over coffee. I'm super excited all of you guys are here and you're really enjoying these. For those of you that don't know, I'm Kristen Schrader, Business Development Manager with Harkins Builders and also your 2020 Board President. Before we get started, I want to thank all of our annual sponsors. Again, gold sponsors, Harkins Builders, JLL, Miles and Stockbridge. Our silver sponsors, Absolute Service Industries, Cone Resnick, Copt, Crammon and Graham, Badova Engineering, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg, the Brick Companies, Rockefeller Group. Bronze sponsors, All Safe Elevator Inspections, Sonero, Charm City Concierge, Gradeline Construction Company, Howard Bank, Infinity Environmental, Katz Abosch, Land Care, Merit Companies, Mona Electric Group, My Cleaning Service, Omega Fire and Life Safety, Penza Bailey Architects, Price Modern, Rupert Landscape, Tyson Krupp Elevator, Unlimited Restoration, VSC Fire and Security, and Whiteford Taylor and Preston. So today's webinar, for those of you who are here, is on commercial cleaning and what that means during today's times with COVID-19, our proactive cleaning and then reactive cleaning, and then what our commercial cleaners see moving forward. So before we get started, again, this is being recorded and it will be posted on YouTube for everybody to see. YouTube is public. And if you have any questions, you can utilize the chat feature. If it's a long question, you can simply just say, hey, I've got a quick question, and I can unmute you so you can ask it. Or if you just want to type it in real quick, then I can facilitate it. Today's panelists are Kathleen Bands, CEO of My Cleaning Service, Polly Houck, Managing Partner of Absolute Service Industries, and Rene Carter, Senior Account Executive with Unlimited Restoration. All right, ladies, if you want to do just quick introductions of your companies and what all you provide, and then we'll just jump right into the conversation.
Okay, going in that order, yes, I'm Kathleen Bands. Like Kristen said, I'm CEO of My Cleaning Service. We are a third-generation cleaning service headquartered in Baltimore, serving the general Maryland, DC, Northern Virginia markets. We do ongoing janitorial, and then we also have a post-construction division, and that division is also performing a lot of our disinfection services right now for a lot of clients who just need maybe one-time infection or ongoing disinfection services and not really like true janitorial.
People that live there call them the territory, but they live in Northwest Territory.
Polly?
Hi, my name is Polly Houck, and I'm Managing Partner of Absolute Service Industries. We are city minority certified as well as state MDOT, commercial janitorial cleaning, construction cleaning, Maryland, DC, Virginia, Delaware, and Virginia. I think I said Virginia. Anyway, so then we do commercial cleaning, construction cleaning, and we have been retooling our organization for each month is a different month. So April has a different work format than May will in June, hopefully. So we, are doing proactive cleans, and when they get to the level, where we are overwhelmed with calls coming in, we've been giving recommendations to Rene Carter.
Good morning, everyone. Rene Carter with Unlimited Restoration. This is my 11th year with the company. Company's been around since '96, and we have offices primarily along the East Coast for full service disaster recovery. We have been getting a lot of calls for COVID-19 cleaning and sanitizing, two different levels, as you can imagine. Proactive sanitizing, and then level 2 would be when there's an actual case, and then we're doing the disinfecting work.
Great. Thank you. So yesterday we had a prep call yesterday, and we kind of opened up the conversation with what were, there was a forum, there's a CREWBiz forum. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but it was related to janitorial services and how they're handling rent payment for empty office buildings. And what our cleaning services are doing, you know, because so you've got a pullback of services, you know, in our office buildings because there's nobody, well, very few people there, and then they're all being reallocated to like job site cleanings and then like emergency cleanings. So if Kathleen and Polly, if you want to handle that question of what you're seeing in the industry and how you're handling the non-reoccurring cleaning, I guess, so to say.
Well, I know on our call yesterday, you were talking about seeing a lot of the same trends that we're seeing. A lot of people are wanting to, I guess, change their scope a little bit so that while they're not in the office, they can, you know, have some project work and that kind of things done that's easier without the tenants in the space. So I completely agree with that. We've seen a lot of that. We have some clients that have completely shut down. So I think for us, we're taking it kind of like case by case situation and how best we can work with our clients to make it work for them. A lot of clients that we've seen that have scaled back dramatically, they still want the full cleaning service. That way that there's no doubt in anyone's mind when they come back to work that they are going to be safe. A lot of people have added day porter services for when they come back. I think that's going to be a mad rush, to be honest with you, when everyone starts to come back to their office. And I think on CNBC this morning, who was it? The related company were talking about how they're prepping for when all of their tenants come back to work, that there's going to be significantly increased amount of cleaning in their spaces to make everyone feel comfortable. And so I think it's going to be sort of, can we save money on the front end so that then we can place it more towards when people are actually in the space?
We've had a lot of calls as well for people wanting us to sign contracts so that when they do go to reopen, that we're there to do a very thorough cleaning so that the employees do feel safe going back into the space.
We kind of rewrote our company's structure for April, and then May again will be different, and then June again different. April, you know, we were pretty much blessed that 98% of our portfolio gave us full payment. So we restructured everything so that, you know, while the employees are out, we are doing detail cleaning, high dusting, floor strips. We basically took apart their kitchens. You know, these people left under duress and went out with their stuff on their desk, and they didn't even think about the kitchen. So we're like going into the refrigerators, removing any food that, you know, expires in April, taking the Tupperware, putting it in the dishwashers, running the dishwashers, detail cleaning, all of that. So at least when they come back, they feel that, you know, they're not going to come back to a moldy refrigerator or moldy kitchen and all these different appliances. You know, we're stripping all the floors, shampooing carpet. We're doing high dusting. You know, we're doing a lot of stuff out of contract at this point because it's basically a manpower. It's how many bodies for how many hours in each building. Other things that we've done is a lot of just day porters on the front end. So we have a lot of additional day porters already in buildings that are contracted with us, just doing touch points in the common area, and that's all they do. So we've employed that already. So that's April's plan.
That's great. Yeah, I just wanted to cover that.
Can I address that question really fast? It just popped up from Beth. What is a day porter? So there's night cleaning services that come in after you leave your office. Janitorial workers come in and clean the space top to bottom. Then a day porter would be the person that you see in the lobby, bathrooms, restocking the bathrooms, restocking the kitchens, cleaning up little minor spills, that kind of thing. Fingerprints on glass. They're around the building during the day just to make sure that everything is kept up while people are in the space. So that's where the day porter is really essential for this type of disinfection because they're hitting all of the high touch surfaces, elevator buttons, door handles, fixtures in the bathroom, things like that that need to be disinfected on an ongoing basis as people are touching them. That's why we can add the best disinfection defense right there to a day porter that's already in the building.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's move into, what we're seeing today and like what does cleaning for a positive COVID case mean? And what are you, how fast do you react to these situations? Do you have specific staff that goes into the, that's trained, or is all of your staff trained? And what do you do when there is a positive case reported?
So our company responds within 24 hours to that type of cleaning. And yes, the people that respond are trained in biohazard cleanup. And so that's what we consider a level 2. It's really a disinfecting, not a sanitizing. So they go in, they do a formal protocol that was written by a certified industrial hygienist, wipe down of everything. We aren't really doing the fogging because we feel like it can't reach all of the surfaces, and it may react poorly with electronics and soft goods. So we're using the UV lighting. So they sanitize on the way in, they disinfect on the way out.
And then Kathleen and Polly, are you, do your companies get involved in the positive cases, or do you go do you flip that over to a company like Rene's?
We do both. And for our portfolios, we try and take care of, our family. So they're first line. But I reached out to Rene, weeks ago, because it's going to get to the point where we're going to need more broadband than what we can actually do. So, we've been there within the hour. We've been there within, people try and give us a call in the morning, but, you don't know when these results are coming back. And then, it tends to peak on the weekend. I think there must be results coming out on Fridays. So folks try and give us rings on Friday, and then we, reallocate our teams to go in and do that. So, it all depends. We have some teams in our medical portfolio that are doing spray downs every night, and that's just part of their routine.
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. We're doing both, although if it's something that's much more intense, then obviously it would be something that Rene's group would handle. However, if there's something that's within a building that we're already working in that space and we're already there, then it just makes more sense for us to go in and handle it on our own. So I think it just kind of depends. Like I said before, it's really case by case situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. This is meant to be interactive. So for our property managers, that have experienced this on the front line, I invite you guys to weigh in as well. One thing that Polly mentioned yesterday is Pennsylvania has required that any building over 50,000 square feet has to have their common areas disinfected nightly. Which I hope, I don't know all of the cleaning regulations. I don't know if this is already in place in Maryland, but I hope that Maryland, DC, and Virginia would certainly follow along. Polly, I'm sure that you're more familiar with the regulations than I am.
We do it in our portfolio because that's just us, but no, it's not regulated in Maryland, DC, or Virginia.
It's not, but that is a great point. That most companies who are practicing like a green cleaning program or something like that would already have that built in. And I think that's really speaks to a professional company who has been doing this for quite an amount of time. There's companies that we're seeing out there, not to switch subjects too much, but that are in related fields, let's say like pest control or whatever, maybe security or something like that, that already have people able to go perform these services, but they don't really understand the details of how cleaning works on a scientific level. And so there's a lot of people jumping into the market. So if they decide to start performing janitorial services and they don't know what's best practice in the industry right now, I would say any of the professional cleaning companies would probably have it already into their nightly routine to include disinfection, but not all of them do because it's not regulated and not mandatory. That's a great point.
So there's some questions that are starting to pop up. The difference between sanitizing and disinfecting is very important. I hear a lot of property managers saying that they're sanitizing. Sanitizing kills 99%, whereas disinfecting kills 100%. And it's all about the dwell time. So you don't put a product on and wipe it down and think you're good. You let it sit for at least 10 minutes. That's like the most major piece, if you can take away from that people need to do. It's not exceptionally difficult to do. It's just the right product.
Right, and that's what we talked about yesterday on our call as well, that people seem to be asking for, we want the strongest disinfectant you have. And to really understand that, it does talk to the dwell time. So the longer the chemical takes to react and kill the bacteria, that's the strength, if you will, of the chemical. So there are some that are faster acting than others, but you're absolutely right, Polly, to keep it wet is the key, rather than don't take it, wipe it down, and then immediately wipe it back off.
The other question, are there green cleaning agents that can disinfect against the virus?
So effectively no, because a green cleaning methods are essentially that it's chemicals that will not hurt the environment, and what that means is it doesn't kill bacteria, which is why every green cleaning program should include a disinfectant in the correct areas. But by definition, disinfectants cannot be eco-friendly green because they are killing. So you kind of need to include a disinfectant with a green cleaning program.
Okay.
Your employees. So your employees every day, yes. So what you need to do is you need to disinfect your keyboards, your phones, your touch points every day.
To be clear, COVID-19 is a virus, not a bacteria, right?
Correct.
Correct.
There are numerous time ranges on how long a virus survives on different surfaces. What's the most recent and accurate data? This is completely up to you guys if you feel comfortable. I know nobody on here is a doctor and or scientist that I know of.
I mean, no, and I'm not looking at hours. I mean, you have to let something stay outside for at least 72 hours, and then depending upon what it is, then you have to peel it back. And, like I literally will receive my mother's belongings and they'll have to sit outside for 72 hours before we can unpack them.
Yeah, I think there's numerous studies that are coming out from, everywhere, right? So I agree on that. It's kind of, you're hearing different things. You should just be careful in general with everything, just to be on the safe side, I guess, because I don't think that there's really 100% sure to know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, everything that I'm seeing through the news, it's all been different information. I guess so. Look, we're talking about coming out of this. Nobody can predict the date, but what are your companies doing, and what conversations are you having with your property managers now for when we're introduced back into our offices? Like what does the future look like for commercial cleaning? Do you think it's going to go back to the status quo, or do you think that we're going to be hypersensitive and understand how important cleaning is in our workspaces?
Yeah, I think cleaning, I think everybody's perception of cleaning is going to change dramatically from this. I feel like, like one of the things, like April, we modified our whole work plan. So May, we're actually in the midst of taking our medical team and, they're going and they're being onboarded for terminal cleaning for backup for all the hospitals, and the vacant suites that we clean that are empty are moving to terminal clean. So, and in the next month after that, I'm looking at delivery services of product. So it's going to change everything. I think the thing that's the most important right now is to protect the medical profession, because our medical profession is gravely understaffed and underprotected. And because of that, it just keeps growing. So if we don't all get out of our immediate bubble and jump on the bubble of helping the medical staff, you know, all these conversations are futile, because I know for a fact the University of Maryland Medical Systems, they get 1 paper mask a week, and they're supposed to change that between every patient, 30 patients a day, roughly. You know, in mark my words, in a month, the medical system is going to be completely blowing up because they're going to be sick and they're not going to be able to take care of people. So there's this whole cycle that's a lot larger than coming back to the buildings and what are we going to do next? You know, I mean, if we don't get in and start helping those guys, we're not going to be going back anytime soon.
That's absolutely true. We don't have much medical in our portfolio, but I can speak to the office side of things, and I have already seen tenants sort of demanding that landlords are making sure that they have safety and protection against the virus. So I think that it's going to be on the forefront of everyone's mind, and I think there's going to be a lot stronger demand than what we've seen in the past.
And yes, we are hiring. We actually onboarded a ton of people already. We have teachers, we have barbacks, you know, landscapers. We've just got a ton of people that we brought on. So that was in the immediate get start. Now it's the transferring of 450 employees from this to that, and how to train them so that, you know, our home team can stay employed.
I want to ask Stephanie and Ryan, you know, what conversations are you having within your companies now, or with your tenants? Are you having these conversations about what commercial cleaning looks like moving forward? And take yourself off mute if you don't mind.
Sure. So JLL has obviously been at the forefront of a lot of this because we are global. We have seen this sort of start in Asia and move its way across. So I think because of that, we have been afforded the opportunity for a lot of information. We haven't really come up with a solid plan on reentry just yet. We're actually working through that process now. But I mean, to the points that everybody has made previously, we're definitely going to be looking at implementing additional day portering, additional head count, additional time. And I think looking forward, my best guess is that our scopes of work are going to be a lot more detailed and specific about what products are used, the frequencies of touch point wipe downs, things like that. So that would be my best recommendation or idea of what we can kind of see out of this. I mean, everybody's focus is going to be on cleaning moving forward. And I think in a previous webinar, I actually think Abby made the point that, you know, tenants are going to be looking for that as an amenity almost to why they choose one building over another, and really digging into the details of that.
And in the immediate, kind of the here and now, what we're working with our current janitorial company, kind of adapting and figuring out things as we go. We're working with them to keep on the staff and possibly even take on more staff if their properties are requesting a reduction in staff. But in that, we're working on certain projects because we're bare bones at the building. We went from about 1,200 employees on any given day to maybe 10 to 25 in the building. So in that, we're working on special projects, things that normally would be out of the scope. And then with kind of the agreement of being able to bring on additional staff to kind of support, we're working on our janitorial vendor on margins because we're in it together. So kind of meet us halfway. Let's work through this together to see what we can do.
Perfect. Karen Pegura, did you have a question? I saw you had a little hand wave next to your name.
Yeah, I just wondered, this is a question for all three. Are you able to get the PPE that you need for your staff to perform all the services you're providing? Thank you.
We had a good stock just because we use it on a regular basis. But yes, the supply lines for getting additional supplies it's really tough to get additional things. And I know that was one of Beth's questions as well, to get PPE. There is a pipeline, and we do have supplies on order. Do you need something specific, Karen, or you're just asking in general?
I'm just asking in general because, you know, I mean, in addition to the actual safety of staff, I'm wondering about the perception of occupants of your own staff, of the services that are being provided, and what you feel that you have to do in order to meet their expectations for, I don't know, social distancing, masking, gloving, all that when they enter the premises. So just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of our clients is actually working on a reentry plan at the moment, and that's a big push to make sure that our team that's even visible to anyone walking through the space show that they have the PPE on when, you know, the building restarts. So that's a huge push. Like Rene said there, I think all of our manufacturers are aware that there's a shortage on PPE, so it's definitely coming. They're working very hard to make sure that, you know, our teams are equipped with the right things. So I think, you know, in a month, I don't think there will be a shortage anymore from the way I've seen manufacturers ramping up at the moment.
I think it's also, everybody has to kind of stand back and get creative at this point. You know, like we have masks that are being made by our cobbler manufacturer, and they hold out 95% of any kind of bacteria, and they're just a fabric mask that you can wash every night. You know, we're not even going to consider getting, you know, the N95 masks. You know, I mean, one of my clients stopped manufacturing clothes, and all they're doing is making masks and shields. So, you know, I mean, everybody's kind of got to stop and recheck their values and figure out how to do it moving forward. You know, I wouldn't accept an N95. I'd give it to a nurse, because if the nurses aren't healthy, we're all in trouble.
Okay, Laura asked, and this is anybody really, are there specific processes recommended for bringing groceries and for bringing in groceries and deliveries? It's more personal than anything else. But I guess even moving forward, I mean, deliveries coming into your office building too. I mean, what is the protocol there? Because you can't leave those outside the office building. I mean, do we need to be concerned about deliveries coming into our buildings?
You have to wash them. You have to wash everything that comes in.
Or
disinfecting wipes.
right.
Soap and water is fine.
Or if you can let it sit, like for example, when we get our janitorial supplies, it's not like you're going to go through a ton of toilet paper right away. Let it sit there in the stock room, and it will naturally die on its own.
Yes.
Our daily mail is still coming in the door, and deliveries. We're just wiping down with disinfecting wipes. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, but we only have 3 people at the office who just would rather work at the office rather than at home. So we just want to make sure they're safe.
I would say definitely on the groceries, personally, make sure that you wipe down your counter afterwards. So if you bring them in, use one side of your counter, wipe everything down, put it on the clean side, then go back and make sure you wipe down everything, wash your hands frequently, that type of thing. And similarly, if you get something like carryout, try to throw away whatever the box is first before you even, you know, consider eating. Don't eat out of the carton itself. Certain little things like that, I think, are just going to change our way of life forever. I think it'll just become normal. One day we'll all look back and say, oh, this is just how you unload your groceries now. You know, and it won't even be a thought.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's been different. I mean, even the way that I, you know, go to the grocery store and bring things in and, you know, set it on the floor and then unpackage everything and put it into, you know, either wash all my veggies and then put them into their own, you know, containers and just unpackage the things that make sense to unpackage before I put them in my refrigerator, and then wipe down the floor and the counters. It'll be interesting going forward if as, you know, humans adopt, you know, more cleaning and understand how important it is. I wonder if the common cold will start to, we won't all be getting the common cold at the same time, and we don't all be getting the flu at the same time. I'm interested. would be interesting to see.
I have a request from property managers whenever possible, because we're still doing our stuff because we provide life safety services, so we don't have an option right now to not service somebody's fire alarm system, etc. If you have a bathroom that, especially as your tenants start coming back in, if you have a designated spot for service people to go to, like as soon as they come in, let them wash their hands. So before they're even touching your panels and your switches and whatever equipment they're working on, make sure there's a spot for them to go to, because like I think I got one of the last shipments off of Amazon for hand sanitizer. It's only going to last so long for my guys out in the field, because they're going sometimes to 3 different sites a day. So if soap and water is what we're telling them, do that first. If anything, please even make it part of your routine for your maintenance staff to say, hey guys, let's go here first, wash your hands, and then start touching stuff in our building, because we already disinfected. Right. And that was one of my concerns, is undoing the work that Rene and Polly and Kathleen are doing with their teams, because we are going from space to space. And we have some masks. We've asked them to keep reusing them. I have some gloves. I know, like my mom said, she's rewashing rubber gloves that she has rather than throw them away, but that would help us, because we have some sites we're going to where they don't have bathrooms for us to use to wash our hands, because if it's like, well, just certain sites don't have it.
Well, and again, I think that hand sanitizer is one of those things that's going to catch up, like we were talking about with the PPE. You know, our manufacturers are well aware that there's a shortage. They're working around the clock to catch up. And even like we've seen Sagamore jump in and some other great companies who are switching their operations to delivering more hand sanitizer to the market. So I think that will catch up, but I think you're absolutely right, Beth. If there is a spot where you can designate that any visitor that's coming to work in the building for any reason comes in and washes their hands immediately, that's probably a great idea.
And that's a conversation, Polly, you and I had, when we met way back in March, when we were still allowed to meet way back in March, at the golf tournament, you said, you know, offices wanted you to come in and disinfect everything, but we were still going into the office. So even though you disinfected nightly, as soon as an infected person came in, you know, you have to start the process all over again. So it's not just like a one and done, and it's gonna, you know, last for a week.
Right. Absolutely. And then, you know, and people have to be smart. I mean, I threw it to Rene, sorry, Rene, a couple weeks ago, but we had a law firm call in and they weren't even a tenant of ours. And this is, you know, a firm that you pay several $100s an hour to talk to this person. And they were in their office that whole week doing a deposition. I don't know for who, because the courts are closed. And, you know, and so then somebody was confirmed COVID-19. And so they were more concerned about the 80-year-old man who was a partner who has COPD than anything else. And they were going to continue to work. And she was just so completely clueless, you know, about the whole situation, to the point where I'm not even her janitor. And I'm like, no, you know, you're on the first floor. You share a common area with the other tenant. It's not just your little office and coming in and wiping down his section. And it's not just the 80-year-old man with COPD. It's you. It's the tenants. It's anybody who came and went. And I said, it's actually the people that clean in your building. And she said, you know, well, Jose and Louis, they, you know, they use harsh chemicals. They're safe, right? And I'm like, no, they clean your toilet every night. It doesn't get more personal than that. You know, like the oblivion and the cluelessness just astounds me, you know. And this is somebody who would charge me $300 an hour to talk to them. Yeah. So, you know, I gave it to Rene because I was just like, this woman, they need somebody who's going to come in and go, you know, full heart on them to make that place secure, because they weren't even willing to pay to clean, have me come in and clean their whole office. These are the people that are causing the problem.
And there's a great point that we were talking about yesterday, even in terms of pricing. Rene, I think you should jump on that one, but from what we were talking about, that people are sourcing quotes quite a bit, and then they realize what it takes and the labor and the intensity that it takes to provide these special cleanings, and then they don't want to pay for it.
Yep. And that's a proactive matter. I mean, they don't, you know, and that's still when it's proactive and not reactive. And that's what we're saying.
And we have people who say, now, when you do the cleaning, you're going to give me a certificate at the end that you've gotten everything and my people are not going to get sick. And we're like, we'll give you a certificate that the scope of work was completed. But the second we walk out of here and you have other people walking in, there's the danger that it's back in there as soon as people start touching things. And one guy said to me, well, another company, they told me that they would give me a certificate. And I'm like, well, they're liars. That's all I can tell you. It's a false sense of security that they're offering you.
And that's what I was saying before about, trusting professional cleaning companies, and anybody who offers to give you a certificate that no one will get sick after they come in and clean. It really is that initial, when someone walks into the building, of course you're safe, but then, once people are inhabiting the space, it's not like it stays clean.
Right.
There's the 2 to 14-day incubation. You have no idea if the person got sick from your building or got sick at home or the grocery store or the gas station or wherever they went. So even at that, short of them being in contact with somebody who's been confirmed and it's very obvious, there's no knowing where it comes from. It's just general caution has to be in place. And I am not an overreactive person. My hands are super dry from washing.
Yeah.
Sherry, I'm going to let you just jump off of mute and ask your question so that I get it right. So go ahead. Oops. Great.
Well, it's really more for the properties as we're talking about the cleaning and all that goes into it, and kind of just being responsible as we know whether we are, as we're trying to figure out what is the plan coming back to the properties. Has there been any discussion on, for the common areas, to have any kind of spacing in place? And if so, or is it going to be left up to the individual to kind of do that? Or is there going to be regulations coming in to say, we can enter back in, but in these designated areas, we need to space the conference room, or we need to make sure we have spaces in the kitchen, like as far as our distance between one another?
I mean, regulations, I'm sure, will be established, but we don't listen to them. So I mean, like some of the zip codes that are going down the hardest are the ones that refuse to listen, so they're killing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I mean, I don't think anybody has a return to work or return to a new normal yet. I know I have not seen anything from my company yet on a return to work, and we're on an open space plan as well. I mean, there's very limited offices. We've got gathering spaces, which small conference rooms that we all pile into, and that's one of the biggest reasons that we decided that we needed to start working from home, is that we couldn't make it work in our office space. You've got 86 people, and they put regulations in place. Okay, everybody needs to communicate via video. Well, do you really just jump on the video? No, you walk over to somebody's desk. And it was very clear that we all need to just start working from home, just because it's a habit, to walk over and talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the common areas and how we handle, I mean, just the refrigerator, putting food in the refrigerators, and eating lunch together. I think it's all going to change in the beginning as we start coming back in. Any other, I know Stephanie, Ryan, or Catherine, or do you have anything on?
I've been paying a lot of attention to what potentially could happen, and it's probably more so long-term planning. But like firms, architecture and design firms might pay attention to intentionally spacing things out, or how even in the near term, tenants have active furniture, movable, you pull your chairs closer together now. Well, now you're probably going to space out a little bit further. You're probably going to start to see less people cram into an elevator cab or get into a conference room. So kind of a mindset shift, and then potentially in the design of office going forward, might see, you know, the open office design will add more people per square foot, but you might start to see that spread out again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see maybe, it's probably too early to tell, but Abby or Catherine, do you think that we're going to see a trend to go to larger office space again rather than smaller? Nope. Yeah, hold on, Abby, you're on mute.
Sorry.
All right, now you're back.
Oh, sorry, Catherine, because I jumped in too. I don't know if people are going to be able to afford larger, but we might find that there'd be staggered hours in the same size space. I'm looking very closely at the hoteling. That concept where you don't even have a designated space is definitely a petri dish. So that may go away. Wishful thinking, people will take more office space, but I doubt it. They'll figure out ways to do in what they have. Catherine, do you want to add something?
Sure. Kind of following up on the prior comment too, we've talked with landlords about building amenities like gyms and conference centers. How do we handle that? You know, gym equipment, like if you've got people cycling through, no pun intended, how do we keep up with that? And if we're providing it to you as an amenity, you know, it's at your own risk, but it just gets kind of muddy. So those were some of the first things we closed long before anything kind of shut down or people started working from home. We immediately closed gyms and conference centers because it just wasn't worth the risk. And if it's not in your lease that we have to provide it to you and it's just an added bonus, then we shut those down. And then I think you might have some shrinking in office space just because people realize that I can work from home a little bit more nimbly than I thought I could. Not everyone, and I don't think there's going to be no office space anymore, but I think you might have some people realizing that certain functions, you know, we have a lot of tenants that it's kind of like back office functions, and it's nice. They all sit together and there's some kind of team atmosphere, but when push comes to shove and economics are that, well, I really can have those people work from home still productively. I think you may have, you know, the kind of like class B, class C office space, you might see some shrinking in functions that can be moved offsite.
Thank you. So Kelly Ennis has a question. Do you have any recommended protocols that can be baked into a handbook or a workplace policy document? And Kelly, did I get all of that correctly? Okay. That would be, I guess maybe, you know, Kathleen and Polly, are there policies that you've seen?
Not on paper documents at this point, no. You know, I don't even think that's in the thought process at this point, but, you know, Rene, have you had to treat any paper like in disaster restoration side? I mean, for us, it's more the touch points. I mean, you can certainly disinfect documents. You know, you can spray the disinfectant that we use all over your body. You know, I literally, you know, I delivered some to my mom's nurses last night to protect themselves when they go home because they don't have it at Keswick. And I even offered free service and they didn't take it. And you can put it all over your body and it's okay. You know, you're going to be fine. So I'm like, spray it on you, rub your hands, then go in. You know, I mean, you've got to be, everybody, as my son says, everybody just needs to act like you have it and we'll be fine. But it's the people that don't act like they have it, that when you're going running and they run into you physically and touch you, that, you know, it's these mindless thought processes that are causing the issues, you know, and the lack of PPE for medical.
Yeah, typically talking about like employee handbook protocols. And I don't, you know, again, I'm not an HR specialist as well, but I don't know if you can get into a conversation in an employee handbook about hygiene. But Kelly,
oh, got you.
Feel free.
No, that I was just asking kind of, I guess it's more of a combination of HR and cleaning policies all at the same time. Because our clients are asking us if we've heard anything from the standpoint of, you know, when we come back, what are the expected behaviors? And I mean, I agree with Polly, there's like, just, you know, don't be stupid. But at the same time, you know, I think there are protocols that will eventually come out of this on basic behaviors in the office space. So I was just wondering if anybody had been thinking about those kind of proactive kind of things, because I think everybody right now, including ourselves and our clients, are being reactive, and rightfully so. But as we kind of look to the future, you know, what are those new behaviors and what will kind of fall in under the HR bucket? So it was just a question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we do have a number of business owners on the call. That may be something to think about. I mean, you know, Laura and Beth, Catherine, Kat, you know, are all business owners. You know, I don't have either. Have you given any thought to, is there going to be, you know, a different protocol that you put in your handbook? Is it something you can put in your handbook?
I know I've already thought about it, and honestly, we haven't been able to spell it out yet, and I need to get legal advice because I think this is going to change some of the legal parameters. Actually, last night we were watching Jeopardy, one of my favorite shows, my relief right now. But there was one of the lawyer ads, and they're already putting out TV commercials about your COVID litigation. And the concern that I have is, I'm lucky I have a small office, and we're very separate and can very easily separate ourselves at least 10 feet apart. But how much can I tell somebody they have to wash their hands? Now, I have very reasonable, logical people, and they very quickly adapted to this. But also, memory is short. And even with what we're all going through right now, let's face it, when we start to get back to life where kids are in school and there are sports games to go to, and the distractions or the parts of our lives that were taking up so much time and aren't right now, as they come back, people are going to forget. And it's, how do you remind them, and how much can we legally say? And to some extent, it was what Kelly said, people can't be stupid, but they're going to be. They're people. They're humans. We all forget stuff. We're going to relax. It's going to go, even if the summer where they're saying the heat might make it so there's less virus out there, we're going to get to the point where people start relaxing. And my thought is not so much as to what I can put in a handbook about like cleaning procedures of your hands and all that. It's, what is the policy as soon as you feel sick? And how do we handle that time of those first couple days of saying, okay, did you have a fever? You can't come into the office at all with a fever. And I've already gone through this with employees when they've had strep throat or the flu or something, and they have this need to work because people need a paycheck. And some of the roles that we have, even within our office, they can't be done remotely on a regular basis. I have deliveries that come in. I have actual physical paperwork that has to go out to job sites and be there for inspectors. These aren't things I can do remotely.
Right.
I think people are going to have to, I think business owners are going to have to protect their staff and their employees. We have and it's been insane for us. We have employees that won't go into COVID-19 confirmed. We have some that just wanted to not be anywhere for 2 weeks. And then you have other ones that are like, put me in, coach. But I think as business owners, we need to support them. You know, it was like the years ago when they did the whole Latino not come to work day. Well, that was hell in the janitorial world. And, you know, we were down, 50% of our employees. We had all the operations managers who are also, by the way, Latino, going in and doing emergency clean. And all of our staff returned back to work the next day, and we still paid them. So I think as owners of the companies, we have to give support to enable the employees to stay home and be sick. So if they can't go stay home because they're an elevator inspector, perhaps there's a modified pay plan so that they can stay home and still make their bills. I think we have to take ownership of that. We can't, a lot of people got fired during the Latino not come to work day thing. And, I think that's disgusting. I mean, you can't really do that to anybody. We won't, but I think as owners, we need to figure out a way to pay these people so they can stay home. I mean, it's back on us.
Or did you
pay them, then that's the problem.
Yeah, I think that it is really important to have, sorry, are we talking over each other? I think it's really important to have a really flexible sick leave policy. And I think that, you know, even short-term, long-term disabilities, offering that is really important for our employees. And we're just 16, so we're not that large, but I think folks need to be comfortable that if they have, you know, a little surgery or, you know, a knee replacement or something that is a bigger thing, that they can feel like they're not going to be broke at the end of it. So I think, you know, we have to build in some policies and sort of getting back to the handbook question. That is something that, you know, is the HR, the legal, is it a policy? Is it a guideline? And so we're really looking at more guidelines to, you know, here's best practices, and have that based on our values as a firm, which, you know, we generally go over that a few years, you know, every few years, and sort of get everybody on board. And you know, we go back to that. Is this following our mission? Is this following our values? And so I think certainly allowing flexibility for taking a day off here and there, even if you suspect you are getting sick. I think there needs to be, you know, I think going forward, there will be much more flexibility in that.
I think too, society in general is trying to answer that question of what is the response to the expectation that you're going to protect yourself. Like there was a gentleman, I believe, that was taken off of a bus forcefully because he wasn't wearing a mask. And a lot of people said, well, why couldn't the police officers just given him a mask and let him ride the bus, right? And so why did it have to be this big, violent, you know, ripping him out of the bus? And same thing, if an employee comes in and they're not washing their hands on a routine basis into the office, or if they're not wearing their mask covering, you know, face covering or something like that, maybe that's an opportunity to have a conversation with the employee so they understand the expectations of the workplace. But can it be, you know, formally disciplined? I guess if they don't listen enough times, yes, but I think you do walk a very thin line there.
You do, and you know, like the Baltimore police don't have enough masks. So right now we're actually trying to donate masks to them. So it would be awesome if they did, because in a month we're going to have some serious problems if the medical staff is all sick, and now the crime rate goes high, and the police are, you know, we're already down 16 police officers with COVID-19 confirmed, and they don't have enough masks. So like, it'd be awesome that if we could all donate masks to the police, that they could do that and hand it, but they don't even have enough for themselves. There's 2,400 because we're in the midst of trying to fundraise for it.
Wendy, you made a comment, and I'm interested to learn more about what you're talking about. So take it away.
In my opinion, I think, well, the first thing is that I think if you're thinking about doing more furniture space, or even if it's like 60, 90 days out, from a short-term point or a long-term point, adding sanitizing stations is definitely the way of the future right now. But what I was saying is that a lot of companies are going to look into replacing things that they have already, and, you know, now to keep things clean. So I guess just one of the things I was just mentioning is that if you're interested in doing more space from a short-term view or a long-term view, this is one of the options that would be good to look into right now, because furniture is definitely going to be hard to figure out, you know, what exactly they want to do. But I feel like there's going to be different ways that we can make it so that these companies will be, you know, feeling comfortable with purchasing the different ways, like short surfaces. And I don't know, it's just a thought that I had, just so people would feel comfortable with keeping things sanitized as they're buying the furniture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had mentioned replacing arm caps on task chairs and conference chairs. So I wasn't sure if that was, I mean, something that could be done. It's done between employees, like, as you know, because we keep task chairs between employees. You know, is that what you were mentioning? Like they would replace? Yep. Okay.
Absolutely, especially the bigger manufacturers. They'll probably look into doing that.
You know, Wendy, some of the bigger manufacturers should look at this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this word, pandemic. I'm so sick of that word.
I know.
But they should look at ways to design attractive hand dispenser sanitizers. I mean, the dispensers that we give are hideous. They're not functional. If you use a cap to catch it, you know, it still falls off and it goes on the floor. But like, this is where you guys could go and start designing some really cool dispenser stations that we could stock, you know, because what we have to stock is tragic. So, I mean, like, that would be a great window for office furniture companies to get into, and you can make a ton of money as long as you work with a janitor that can tell you this is the right product and this is the easiest one to restock and this is the one that is going to maintain pricing and not come to the end user and say, here, you can have this for free, and then, you know, 6 months down the road, hijack the price. So, you know, I mean, like, that would be a great market for you guys. You guys need to start thinking about ways to change the future.
Yep, exactly. Like I said, adding the sanitizing stations.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely true. And there was a big push years ago in the industry to put like, I guess, soap dispensers that are more attractive in general. So they made them brightly colored and you could see through the window of them, and they maybe, you know, all this type of stuff to make it more interesting to wash your hands. So Paula, you are spot on with that, to make sure that, you know, it's in the front of people's minds and they're seeing it, and it's something that's right there and easily accessible to them.
But they need to work with us when they need to work with us when we do it, because Kathleen, you see it all the time. I mean, the poor designers and architects don't know, and they pick the ones that look pretty, and then they come to us and we're like, oh, for the love of God, like, could you at least just contact us on the front end, please? Like, this is, you are just going to get hijacked for the rest of your life because that person sold you a pretty product and you have no idea what's going to, you know, it's just like, you just sit there and you're like, oi, oi, you know, but yeah.
Exactly.
So my challenge is who is paying for all of this? So whether it's new furniture that's easier to sanitize, new hand sanitizer dispensers, you know, we're increasing paid sick time for people. And I'm all for all of these things, so don't get me wrong, but, you know, are people going to pay? Am I going to go back to the tenants and say, well, your rental rate is now X, and, you know, maybe Abby can chime in, but I don't think businesses are going to pick up the tab for all these increased expenses. And
I don't, but I think
many wonderful ideas for how we change behavior, but it comes down to the economics of all of it. So how do we have to figure out some way economically to incentivize people to make some of these changes?
I mean, honestly, I sit there and I watch some of the janitorial specs that we had before this versus where we are. And if people would just step back and be a little bit more thoughtful to some of that. I mean, honestly, how often does your trash get changed at your house? How often do you empty your trash? Maybe twice a week? You know, we'll get complaints if there is a piece of paper in a trash can because we didn't empty it every night. I get wet food, I get soiled food, I bet, and medical cleanup, but like, there's just, you know, for me to be having somebody empty that trash can every single night as opposed to maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and then that person can take those hours that they're not emptying that same trash can and go and disinfect. I mean, to me, it makes sense. Like, some of the comments that I'm sure Kathleen gets, that we get, I just sit there and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, sure, you can go get COVID-19, but we'll get that paper clip out of your trash can tonight. You know, we got to really check ourselves and look, you know, I mean, look at your home, look at what you do at home, look at what you're comfortable with, and then walk back into that office space and look at it accordingly. I think people's, hopefully, I hope, their perceptions will change so that, like, Kathleen and I can take the manpower that's already there and reallocate to do these things, you know, within the same price point. You know,
I mean, there's a difference between emptying the trash and emptying the recycle bin. I mean, my recycle bin at work does not need to be emptied every day. Like,
right.
Like, whatever. I mean, but if I have my trash can, that should probably be, you know, taken out. But
there's definitely a reprioritization of different tasks. You're absolutely right. That we're already seeing that shift a little bit, and I think, you know, more so the importance is going to be emphasized on the items that really matter, and people have to change their own perception of what clean means.
It's 10:30. So I want to thank our panelists. For those of you on the call that need cleaning or are interested in additional cleaning in your office spaces, there are 3 wonderful people on this call that can help you out. So with that, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Our next Tuesday's webinar will be at 11 o'clock. It should be the only one that's out of the 9:30 sequence. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.